programme. So Joanna Simpson's mother and best friend have been on Good Morning Britain over the past few months, tirelessly campaigning to keep her killer behind bars.
They've told us of their fear that if he's released, Joanna's family, friends and all women will be in danger. Well, last night, a Netflix documentary telling the story of how she was brutally killed at the hands of her ex-husband was shown at a special screening at the House of Commons.
In the documentary, Joanna's best friend speaks about the impending release of Robert Brown in just a few months' time, having served only half of a 26-year sentence.
When Robert Brown is released in November 2023, the narrative that I cling on to is that he's just like a piece of dust and completely inconsequential to my life. The reality is we're terrified. A dangerous man is being released and there is nothing anybody can do to stop it from happening.
Well, Joanna's mum, Diana Parks, and along with Joanna's best friend, Hetty, are here now to talk about this. It is devastating to everyone, but particularly to you too, that sentence, that this dangerous man is going to be released, the danger you know more than any, and no one can do anything about it.
No. It is terrifying.
And that's how you feel, despite all your campaigning and all the conversations you've been having and how much you've spoken out.
We are very afraid when he comes out. We're not just afraid for us and the family, but we're afraid for women in general, because he is a nasty piece of work.
You've spoken to a number of Justice Ministers now, trying to sort of talk about the campaign. I mean, these politicians do tend to change their jobs quite quickly. Must be internal frustration because, Hetty, you get a bit of traction with one of them, then all of a sudden they've gone, another one's come along.
Yeah.
Before we talk about where you are with that, what was the reaction in the Commons last night amongst the MPs that were watching it and the other sort of extended people?
It was, honestly, you could have dropped anything. It was total silence, totally overwhelmed. I think most people were totally overwhelmed, emotional. And actually, in the end, we did some Q&A, and actually quite a lot of people really angry about how did it happen? Why is he being let out? How on earth did this man get away with it, given the extent of what he did, which if people watch the documentary, they'll see it for real.
So does that give you hope? Because you think, my goodness, we're playing the story, individuals are moved by it, important individuals in the Commons. Change must happen. This can be changed. Or what are the barriers you keep finding to that change?
The law is the barrier, really. It's just not common sense, to be honest. I mean, you know, to say a 26-year sentence, that's what it should be, instead of 13-year sentence. And that's the frightening thing. When we heard it, to start off with, in court, that he was going to be given a 26-year sentence, we sort of felt, oh, OK. But then when we learnt it was 13 years, it was absolutely devastating. I daren't tell the children who were living with me because it would have ruined their life to think that he would be out so soon. And, I mean, Katie sat on my knee and she was telling me about the bang, bang, bang they heard of when he was killing their mother. They both heard. And she said, but, Granny, if he's going to be in for 26 years, he'll be 72 when he comes out, and he's probably in a wheelchair. And I was 72 at the time when she was telling me this.
But in her mind, she was trying to sort of, I guess, somehow minimise the threat and fear by calculating it'd be such a long time away. He'd be too weak to hurt anyone else.
Yes, exactly.
The reality is, of course, that at the moment he's set to be released later on this year, something you're all battling hard. And, you know, there's going to be conditions when he comes out. You're having to deal with what happens when he comes out. How are you coping with that, Hetty?
That's really tough, because in parallel with campaigning to try to stop him from being let out, we are having to have conversations about when he's let out, what are the conditions going to be. It makes it all so horrifically real. And that conversation in itself is really distressing because it makes it very, very real. You know, they start asking you, where do you live? Where do you go to regularly? You need to do a list of all of these things, and which is great because they're trying to protect you, but it makes it so real and makes you realise that you're going to be living effectively in a prison yourself, because you know that if you go outside of those areas...
He could be there.
He could be there.
But what is so frustrating is that we don't know where he is. We're not allowed to know where he is. It's so wrong. And we also can't have a photograph of him. We can just be shown a photograph, but we can't keep it.
So you can keep an eye out for somebody who looks like this, because undoubtedly he will have changed in 13 years.
Of course.
So you got an assurance when you first came onto the programme and we spoke together in March, wasn't
Yes.
it? And from Dominic Raab, the then Justice Secretary. You've since had further meetings, as Ben says, the politicians tend to change their roles. Where are you now on your belief or promises of a change?
Well, Alex Chalk was delightful, and I think we came out feeling optimistic, but of course you never know. I mean, it's the law, and we just have to wait to see. Nobody can do anything till September anyway, nearer the date of release.
So you're hoping that come September there might be a change which, in some level, gives you a sense of a reprieve?
Yeah, there is hope, and we wouldn't be campaigning if there wasn't hope. There is a law in place already that Chalk can use to stop him from being released. It was brought in last year by Sir Robert Buckland, and that's the law that we are asking Chalk to now use.
Just remind people, this is because the law came in and therefore he would have to use the law almost retrospectively. Is that the challenge?
No, the law came in last year, which gives the Lord Chancellor the powers if through evidence he believes that this man is a significant risk of doing a crime imminently, then he can make the decision to stop him from being released. But it's a very, very narrow rule.
Right.
And it's got a very high bar to get over.
So strict conditions to...
Very strict conditions. So that's why it's, it is going to be, we are pushing for it. The public's support in helping us to push for it is so important.
That'll make a difference. It
will make a difference, because it will mean that Alex Chalk is looking at it through the lens of what he's hearing from the public.
The Ministry of Justice have been in touch and they said Joanna was brutally killed in a cowardly, senseless attack and needed to be taken from her family. The Lord Chancellor met with her brave loved ones last month and will continue to give the cause his close personal attention. And that's the point, isn't it? But as you say, it's not going to be till September.
Correct.
And of course, the release is only a couple of months after that, imminently.
Yes, early November, we're told.
It is, and his power means he can stop the automatic release and then refers him to the parole board. Well, some people might have seen in the media over the last couple of days that Colin Pitchfork is being recommended for release by the parole board. So, these dangerous men still managed to convince the parole board to let them out, and it's something we should be very worried about. So you jump through
one hoop only to hope that he doesn't get through the next, if the parole board would then still have to fall on your perspective and keep him in prison.
Exactly.
And then I read that that people who've offended, within 9 years of being released, 75% of them re-offend.
And that's your big concern, isn't it?
The terror.
That is the frightening thing.
That's the reality.
Well, look, we wish you well with your campaigning. I know that you'll be tireless at it because it means everything to you, and also dealing with the ongoing sadness of loss as well.
You never get over that. Grief never goes. You just learn to walk alongside it.
Yeah. Very moving, very powerful. Always good to speak to both of you.
Thank you so much for asking us.
No, not at all.
The public can help, so they can go to our website, which is www.jsfoundation.org.uk, and click on the link to write to their MP to ask that the Lord Chancellor takes this very seriously, and I would urge everybody to do that.
What's the website again?
www.jsfoundation.org.uk.
OK. Hopefully some people will join in that sort of momentum to try and make sure that they get as much focus as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.